Hey man, welcome back to Man Time. Today's episode we are doing drywall as promised. As you can see here, I have got quite a bit done. This whole wall, 50 feet of drywall that spans about 9 foot high. So nothing is matching up and I'm having to figure all this stuff out. But I'm going to take you along with me as we get, one sheet up here and talk about it a little bit. Welcome to Man Time. Well, this is the piece of drywall we're going to be installing today. I'm going to take you through just like one piece. I've already done lots and lots, but show you some of the tips and tricks that I learned here as we're going through. So the first thing, a good tape measure. I like these Stanley Fat Maxes. They still seem to be kind of the best in the game, and we're going to measure out. Now the thing with drywall, you don't want like a press fit, right? You want like a little bit of a gap. So when I measure exactly, and when I cut just undersized a little bit because the mud is gonna, take up the rest of that little 16th or 8th inch gap. And then around doors, of course, you're gonna have a piece of trim that's running all the way around that door. So you don't want the drywall to interfere with the door frame at all. Again, so you leave a little bit of a gap. So let's see what we got here for an opening size. Looks like 34 and just under 3/4. And down here we've got, 34 and 3/4 down there. So I'm going to measure out 34 and 3/4 and then cut just inside of that line. So let's go over here to the drywall, some of the tools that I'm using, and we'll kind of talk about all this stuff. So I've got some helpers up here with me. Don't I, Tucker boy? All right, 34 and 3/4. All right, I've already got the tape ripped off of there, so we've got a free piece here. And I've seen a lot of tutorials on like cutting drywall, the University of YouTube on this whole thing here, which is really cool. If you would, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you would, if you're learning something valuable or interesting. So again, 34 and 3/4, I'm gonna mark 34 and 3/4, so I've got a good mark on either side here, 34 and 3/4, and on the other side, .34 and 3/4. Okay, next steps, and what I like to do, I'm going to take a piece of board, put it right there at that 34 and 3/4 mark. Typically what I'll do is I'll run it off the side. I've got some clamps. Again, organization and having tools at the point of use is key to any of these projects. So I've got it run off the edge there a little bit. That way we can come up and just have it right there at 34 and 3/4. And then on the other side, same deal. And then we'll get our line marked. The thing is, the hard part is the cutting through the drywall. And you can only get about 4 cuts with one of these razor blades. Maybe 5, you're doing, the thing with cutting the drywall is you want to go as deep as possible. Right, so I put it back over onto the rest of the sheets of drywall, and what I found is, and actually a trick my dad taught me, I can't take credit for this one, but you get yourself one of these little sharpening stones and go over the razor blade to get a few more cuts than what was originally intended. I don't know if you can see here, but the razor blade, I haven't used it in like a week, and it's all rusty, where I was cutting through the drywall. I've already flipped this one But yeah, drywall is really hard on these razor blades. So you're going to want to use the sharpening stone on both the sides and on the actual blade face, because you want this going through there kind of as easily as possible. And what happens is the drywall builds up and actually turns into like a hard paste on the razor blade, and it makes it really difficult to push through that drywall. So I think I've got it cleaned up here pretty good. Maybe that's why it's rusty. A little lubrication never hurt anything. Okay, 34 3/4. I'm going to cut just inside of that. And again, what you want to do here is just run down and cut as deep as you can. The problem is seeing the line like in front of the blade is a little difficult. So really nice and easy. Take your time and just come. And you don't want to be waving it back and forth, so you really want to use like two hands. You want to come over to an edge and break it. Like that. Okay, now here is the tricky part. Once you get it broken, sharpen up our knife again, because this is where you're going to want your precise cut on the white side of it here. Whew. And as you can see, we've got drywall built up on the blade. A little bit of sweat, a little bit of water. It does come right off of there, but it is dulled up from cutting even just one. And so when you go to cut through the paper, it's often not going to be as sharp as it was. But just a little touch like that with our abrasive, and we are good to go. All right, this is the tricky part. Let's back up. Okay, there we go. Yeah, this is the hardest part of it. Let's get in here a little closer. Okay, so here we go. First thing we're going to want to do is come down here to the very bottom. Get this split and cut. There we go. And then up. Yeah, you can see there, it's starting to load up, with paper. Again, that is why we want to have it sharpened up a little bit, right? All right, so I had a footstool over here somewhere. I am not seeing it, so let's come up here. Okay, and down here, we've got a clear spot back there. There we go, and now we get a test fit. Okay, so here we go. One thing I did learn from experience is you don't want to measure with a tape measure the up and down. What I like to do is just put the piece in place and get a very accurate measurement of where I want it to come up to. And it seems to just, it's error proof. I've got a line exactly where this is going to come up to and be short of the piece up here, So let's make one more cut. Okay, so we've got our piece in place here, and the next thing we're going to want to do is figure out where our studs are. So I kind of leave it loose and then come up you know, to where the stud is here. Lay it on that piece of drywall with it pulled out a little bit, and then come down and basically just scribe a line down the piece, and then every 2 feet is typically where I'm going to be putting screws. So just make some marks there. And okay, so this is where really good tools and stuff come into play. So I've got the DeWalt 20 volt XR drywall screws specifically, and I've got it set up to where the screw heads are basically flush, but not, you know, digging in too deep and not laying. It takes a little bit of a setup, but it's pretty easy. You just twist this and make, you know, have a test piece of drywall, and then test it until you figure out, you know, where's that perfect spot, because it's going to stop and retract. So it's not continuing to drive that drywall screw, breaking up the drywall, and also leaving it in the perfect depth where you mud over it and it basically becomes unseen, you know. So let's get started here. I've got, you know, half of the, it's coming up to halfway in the width of the stud on this side, and it is pretty good. I do kind of want to try to lift up on this side. So what you can do is you can take a little bit of a wedge, and I just happen to have some wedges kind of laying around from doing the doors, you know, and just kind of wedge it under there like that, and then yeah, moving it over. Yeah, very nice. So it's like, it's kind of right up against the door here, which I didn't want, but I guess I didn't cut enough off of it, you know, with that kind of 1/8 inch rule of thumb. I went a little underneath of that. So let's put in my first screw up here in this corner, but it looks pretty level, like across the top, you know, and then it's just a little tight here. So I think we'll be okay there. You can always get out the, you know, razor blade and trim off a little bit, but yeah, these this is cool. This is cool. Okay, so yeah, I'm having some issues where it's kind of wanting to bounce out right here in the middle, so I'm going to start here against the stud. There we go. And now we can just kind of put them wherever we want, wherever makes sense, you know. And up against the intersections of the studs, that's where this is, you know, really critical. So. Yeah, and it's perfectly flush. And then just, you know, kind of work your way down here. Yeah, very nice. And then, you know, just kind of check your work as you're going, making sure we're all good. Yeah, along here, along these seams, I'll typically do like closer to maybe a foot. Okay, man, this is the last piece of drywall that I'm gonna be putting up. All done. I got one full wall here, studs on the back side, anchored with those metal cleats. If you missed that one, go back and check out, I don't know, 8 or 10 videos ago, where I'm showing how I'm attaching the stud walls to the I-beam structure that I built here. I made little keys that I'm welding and then screwing into the studs to hold them to the wall. But yeah, very, very solid now, not going anywhere. Got it anchored to the floor, anchored to the I-beam, and this wall now is ready for spray foam insulation on the back side of it. Got my doors in place. This one here is actually going to be a bathroom door, so coming in from the shop straight into the bathroom makes a lot of sense. So Anyways, that's going to do it for today on Man Time. You like this type of stuff, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Whenever you do, get out there, have you some man time too.